What is an exception in programming languages? An exception is an event which occurs during the execution of a program that disturbs the normal flow of the program's instruction. First, we understand the difference between syntax error and exception. Syntax error. The name suggests that this error results from the incorrect syntax. It leads to termination of the program. Here is an example. Here we have a piece of code, and in this code we forget the colon after the if statement. That's why it was giving an error. After I run this program, you can see there is a syntax error. Exceptions. Exceptions are raised when the program is syntactically correct, but the code results in an error. This error does not stop the execution of the program. However, it changes the normal flow of the program. Here we have a piece of code, and in this code we are dividing the number by 0. But generally we can't be able to divide a number by 0. Here, after run this program, you can see there is a 0 division error. Exception handling in Python. Try and except statements are used to catch and handle the exception in Python. Statements that raise an exception are kept inside the try block, and the statements that handle the exception are written inside the except block. Here we have a piece of code, and in this code we return the code inside a try block, and the code is we are dividing a number by 0, and in except block statement we printed the message division by 0 is not allowed. After run this program, you can see the program has not disturbed its flow, and printed message divided by 0 is not allowed. Catching a specific exception. You can mention which exception you want to catch in the except block. Here in this example, we catch the exception 0 division by error. Here we need to mention 0 division error in except block. After run this program, you can see message has been displayed into the console. You can also write like this, 0 division by error as E, and you can print that E message into the print statement. After run this program, you can see the message is displayed into the console. Multiple except blocks. A try statement can have more than one except blocks to specify handlers for different exceptions. But note that at most only one exception block is executed from the list. Here in this example, we have written two except block in the try block. The first one is the 0 division error and the second one is the type error. After run this program, you can see exception message. The only string can be concatenated with the string, not float, because we are trying to concatenate a string text with float value. What happens when no except blocks are found from the list? Then it raises an exception. To avoid this, add a default except block at the end of the list. You cannot add a default block at the beginning, because whenever an exception occurs, then that exception block will be executed and it does not goes to the next exception block. Here is an example. Here we remove this type error from the list. After run this program, you can see there is an exception is raised into the output. Because we are trying to concatenate a string text and float value. And that exception is not catch into the except block statement. To avoid this one, we add one except block at the end of the list. And this except block is the default except block for this try statement. Here we add except and message into the print statement. Exception occurred. After run this program, you can see there is a message into the output exception occur, and it does not raise an exception. Here you cannot add exception, this except block at the beginning of the list because it raises an error. Default except must be the last. You can also add an exception class name in the except block. The exception class is the base class for all exceptions in Python. Here in this example, we add this except block at the end of the list. And we add exception class name in except block. Here exception as E. And we print this E statement in print function. After run this program, you can see in the output, exception occur can only concatenate a string to string. Try with else block. In Python, you can also use the else block on the try except blocks. And it must be present after all the except blocks. The code entered in the else block executes only if the try block does not raise an exception. Here in this example, we add else block after the except statements. Here else and print statement and message else block. After run this program, you can see there is an exception has been occurred. That's why this else block is not executed. Now we remove this exception line. After run this program, you can see there is a else block is executed. Finally, keyword in Python. Python provides a keyword finally, which is always executed after the try and except blocks. The final block always executes after the normal termination of the try block or after the try block terminates due to some exception. Here in this example, we add finally block in the try catch statement and print message finally block. After run this program, you can see there is an exception has been occurred and finally block is executed. If there is a no exception occur, then still finally block is executes. Here we change 0 to 10. After run this program, you can see there is a else block is executed and finally block. And there is a no exception has been occurred, this try except statement. Still this finally block is executed. Raise an exception in Python. Python raise keyword is used to raise an exceptions or errors. The raise keyword raises an error and stop the control flow of the program. It is used to bring up the current exception in an exception handler so that it can handle further of the call stack. Here in this example, we raise the exception by using raise keyword. Here we are checking this number is odd or even. If the number is odd, then we raise the exception. And our number is 5. After run this program, you can see there is a exception is occurred and it raises in the console. Now we change the number as a 6. After I run this program, you can see there is a no exception raised.